Well, hello and welcome back to the Pastor's Q&A. I am Pastor Ryan and I am here to answer your questions. Today we have a question about church history and how we can connect to it. Here's how this question comes to us. It says, how can a Christian coming to the Lord through a Protestant Reformed tradition participate in, celebrate, and enjoy our 2,000 years of church history that people coming from a Catholic or Orthodox background claim to have a monopoly on? I don't affirm many of the dogmas that are unique to these churches, but still see the value of having a long reaching continuity with previous believers. Well, this is a great question. And something that we encounter in our modern era is we are obsessed with the new. We are obsessed with doing new things. When it comes to things that seem old or traditional or historic, it can be very easy to throw those things out for something that is bright and new and shiny. And philosophically, you can actually trace this line of thought back to Karl Marx. He viewed history through the lens of oppression and subjugation. And so, therefore, history is to be something that is transcended. It's something that we need to get beyond because history was seen as bad and seen as oppressive. And this is a view that pervades to all areas within our society. Right now, I have a new iPhone sitting in its box. And so everything from getting a new phone all the way to corporations scrambling to try to signal that they are on the, quote, right side of history. And we see this all over the place. But I think that when it comes to the church and when it comes to church history, it is foolish to have the perspective that nothing historically within the church is of value. If we toss that out, I think that we lose a richness and a solidity that we can't get any other way. And so I want to talk about a word. I want to use a word that might not be familiar to you, or you might even have an aversion to it, depending on what church background you come to. And that is the word liturgy. Now, the word liturgy, oftentimes we tie it to something that's Catholic or something from Anglicanism, but the word liturgy actually just means rhythm. It means the rhythms of the stories that we tell ourselves. And so every church, whether it is Anglican or whether it is Pentecostal, every church has a liturgy. And that liturgy might be something as simple as us doing a few songs, having a short message or a sermon, and doing another song and saying goodbye. That might be your church's liturgy, or it might be something far more complex, something with many different pieces and scripted prayers and all sorts of things. But all churches have a rhythm and a story that they are telling week to week. But not just that, not just churches. Churches are not the only entities or institutions that have liturgies. All of us have liturgies that we follow. All of us have rhythms that our lives lock into. All of us have stories that we are telling ourselves. There is a liturgy of the smartphone. Week to week, your smartphone activity probably looks pretty similar. There is a liturgy, there is a story that your smartphone is trying to invite you into. It is giving you a vision of the good life and trying to draw you into that. There is a liturgy of television. Netflix has a liturgy. Disney Plus has a liturgy. There's a liturgy of the shopping mall. Shopping malls are designed in such a way as to tell a particular story and give you a particular kingdom or a particular vision. And these liturgies, the liturgy of your family time, the liturgy of television, the liturgy of dinner, whatever it is, these rhythms shape you. The rhythms in my life shape me. They shape my thinking. They shape my behavior. And so what we want to do as Christians is we want to find the stories that we can tell ourselves that will shape us into the image of Christ. That's the liturgy. That's the rhythm. That's the story that we want to tell ourselves. And so one way that we can do that is by connecting to the historic story of the church. And so I want to give you 4 different ways that we can do that, 4 ways that we can connect to church history in a way that will be valuable and in a way that will be shaping to us. So number one way to connect with church history is to sing hymns. sing hymns. I was just out at lunch today talking with somebody about the value of hymns in worship. They were asking me, why don't we do more hymns? And I said, good idea, let's do it. Hymns are so theologically rich. They are so filled with a groundedness and saturated with biblical truth. And so hymns are something that you can sing personally. There's something that you can sing with your family, sing them with your church. Ask your worship leader to do a hymn from time to time. And that helps connect us to that historical tradition. Number 2, learn creeds and say creeds. Now, a creed, again, that like liturgy is sort of an old word that might bring up certain connotations of things, but creed is simply a declaration of belief. And so there is a secular creed. You might see it on a lawn sign somewhere. In this house, we believe, ... That is a modern creed. And so by learning historic creeds, by learning these declarations of faith from church history, we are able to tap into that tradition of church history and link ourselves to those believers. And so in church, before we take communion, one thing that we do, one of the very few historical elements that we bring in is reciting either the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. And one line in the Apostles' Creed, it says, we believe in the Holy Catholic Church. And we often get questions about that. We say, what's going on here? Is this a Catholic church? What's going on? And we say, no, this is not a uppercase C Catholic. We are not a Catholic church. And actually, this creed was written 700 years before the capital C Catholic Church came into existence. Catholic is simply an Old English word that means true, universal, for all time and all space. And so the reason why we say that, when we say that line, when we recite that creed, we are standing in solidarity. We are uniting ourselves with believers all around the world. Those same words that we say are being said by Christians in Nigeria, are being said by Christians in the underground church in China, are being said by Christians in Australia, and are being said by Christians right here. And not just the church universally around the world, but the church historically as well. These are words that have been recited and declared and cherished for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And so we stand with those believers as well. And so learn creeds, say creeds, either in church or just pray creeds, just with yourself, with your family, whatever it is. Number 3, read old dead guys. Get to know some old dead guys. Become friends with them. And not in a creepy way, what I mean by this is find books by older authors that write in a different style. In C.S. Lewis's book, The Screwtape Letters, one of the things that he says is one of Satan's greatest schemes, this is from the perspective of Satan, he says, one of the greatest schemes that Satan has done, that the devils have done, is convince people that Puritan is a dirty word. And so we can draw from that tradition, from Puritan writings, from old church writings, from Reformation writings, from early church fathers. And so find some books from people that lived in a different context and at a different time than you and read them. And then number 4, I want to point you to a resource that I would encourage you to get, and it's this book right here. This is the book, Every Moment Holy. Every Moment Holy. And what this is a collection of prayers for just about every moment of your life. Wendell Berry, he's a famous author, and this is one of his quotes. He says this, "There are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places." In the same way that there are no unsacred places, there are no unsacred moments. There are only desecrated moments or moments that we have forgotten are actually sacred. And so what this book does is it has a collection of liturgies, or in this case, literally just prayers, a collection of prayers for just about every moment of your life that we can think of. And here's how it puts it in the introduction. This is written by a Christian author, Andrew Peterson. He says this, "By remembering the holiness of each moment, we banish the old Gnostic ghost and thwart its lie that there's nothing holy about flesh and bone, soil and stone, work and pleasure, and all tangible, tactile, visible things. The resurrection of Jesus sent shockwaves into every molecule of creation, even into this crazy century of ones and zeros and jet engines. If the gospel is true, then it matters in all of time and all of space. And so what this book is this is a collection of prayers for just about everything you could think of. It's divided up into categories. There are liturgies of labor and vocation. This is one of my favorite ones. There's a prayer for the changing of diapers. Not just one prayer, but two prayers for the changing of diapers. Probably because if you're a parent, you change so many diapers. One prayer is just not going to cover it. You need more than that. There's liturgies of creation and recreation. There's a prayer that you can pray before consuming media. Don't you think that would change the things that we watch and the way that we think about the things that we watch? If we recited this liturgy, if we recited this prayer before we did that, there's liturgies of blessing and celebration, of petition. There's liturgies of sorrow and lament. There's a prayer here for the death of a dream. There's a prayer for those who have not done great things for God. On top of that, there's liturgies of the moment, and there are liturgies of blessing, table blessing that you can pray before meals as well. And so this is just one simple resource that you can pick up to help you connect to church history. And we encourage you to get this, and feel free to come talk to me. I'd love to continue this conversation as well. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pastor's Q&A. You can submit a question. You can find more questions on our website at radiantofcamus.org. Subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a rating. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We are also on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We will see you next time.